One of the greatest astronomers who ever lived died because he was too polite to leave a dinner party and go pee. Yes, really. History is full of powerful, important people who survived wars and plots, then died in the stupidest ways imaginable. Today, we are counting down the dumbest deaths of the rich and famous. Kings, emperors, and geniuses undone by absolute nonsense. This is the channel where stick figures suffer so you can feel better about your own life. Grab a snack and settle in. Let us start with that polite astronomer. His name was Tycho Brahe, a brilliant Danish stargazer with a fake metal nose. He lost his real nose in a sword duel over a math argument, which honestly already tells you a lot about this guy. At a fancy banquet, etiquette said you could not leave the table before the host, so Tycho held it and held it. His bladder strained for hours past the point of comfort. By the time he got home, something inside him had reportedly given out. He suffered for 11 agonizing days and then died. One of history's brightest minds, taken down by basic bathroom etiquette. If you can die from not peeing, you can die from almost anything. Our next victim was a fearsome Viking warlord. Sigurd the Mighty conquered much of northern Scotland. He was tough, ruthless, and clearly not the type to die in bed. He killed a rival lord and, as a trophy, strapped the man's severed head to his saddle for the long ride home. As he rode, the dead man's teeth kept knocking against Sigurd's leg, scratching the skin with every single bounce of the horse. That scratch got infected. The bite of a man Sigurd had already killed slowly poisoned his blood as he rode in triumph. Sigurd the Mighty died of an infection from a severed head he was using as a souvenir. His victim got the last laugh. Death by trophy is grim. Our next king died from something far more pleasant. He simply could not stop eating dessert. Adolf Fredrik was the king of Sweden in the 1700s. He is mostly remembered today for one truly spectacular meal. On a feast day, he devoured lobster, caviar, sauerkraut, smoked herring, and champagne. A genuinely enormous meal, even by royal standards, but the king saved room for dessert. His favorite was a sweet bun served in warm milk, and he loaded up his bowl. He ate 14 of them. 14 sweet buns on top of the biggest meal of his life. His body simply could not cope. He fell ill that night with terrible digestion problems and died soon after. Swedish kids still call him the king who ate himself to death. Speaking of overindulgence, our next king ate something a lot fishier, and his doctor had specifically begged him not to. Henry I ruled England in the 1100s. He was a strong, clever king who tamed barons and survived plenty of enemies. He absolutely loved lampreys, a slimy, eel-like fish. His physicians warned him constantly that the rich meat was terrible for his health. The king did not care. After a long day of hunting, he sat down and gorged himself on a huge plate of lampreys. That night, he fell violently ill. The chronicles famously record that the King of England died from what they called a surfeit of lampreys. One king died for fish, but our next royal disaster was strictly about wine, and possibly the most theatrical death on this entire list. George, the Duke of Clarence, was the brother of an English king. He was ambitious, scheming, and kept plotting to grab the throne. Eventually, his brother had enough and sentenced him to a private execution. As a royal, George was given the right to choose how. According to the famous story, George chose to be drowned in a giant barrel of his favorite sweet wine called Malmsey. Whether it really happened that way is debated, but the tale stuck. A royal duke supposedly drowned headfirst in a vat of booze. If you have to go, drowning in your favorite wine is at least on brand. Our next victim was a Greek king, killed by an old lady. Pyrrhus was a famous warrior king, so skilled that we still use the term Pyrrhic victory, meaning a win that costs you everything. During a chaotic street battle in a city, Pyrrhus was fighting an enemy soldier below when danger came from straight above him. An old woman watching from her rooftop saw the king attacking her son, so she grabbed a heavy roof tile and hurled it down. The tile struck Pyrrhus square in the neck and dropped him cold. He was reportedly stunned or killed, then finished off in the street. One of the ancient world's greatest generals ended by a furious grandmother with good aim. Sometimes the dumbest weapon is just gravity. Speaking of death from above, our next victim was a celebrated playwright, and his killer was supposedly a bird with a very bad plan. Aeschylus is called the father of tragedy, one of the greatest playwrights of ancient Greece. He wrote stories full of fate and doom. As the story goes, an eagle was hunting tortoises. To crack the hard shells, eagles dropped them from high up onto rocks below. Aeschylus was famously bald, and his smooth, shiny head was reportedly out in the open on a sunny day. You can see where this is going. The eagle supposedly mistook his gleaming bald head for a rock and dropped a tortoise right onto it. The impact reportedly killed him. A master of tragedy, killed by the single most absurd plot twist imaginable. Even he could not have written an ending that ridiculous, from a falling tortoise to a jumping inventor. Our next victim was so confident in his invention that he bet his life on it. Franz Reichelt was a tailor in early 1900s Paris who became obsessed with building a wearable parachute suit for falling aviators. His tests with dummies kept failing, but Reichelt was certain the design worked. He just needed to test it from somewhere truly high up. He got permission to test it from the first deck of the Eiffel Tower. Reporters and cameras gathered to film the historic jump. Everyone, including his friends, begged him to use a dummy instead. Reichelt refused. He climbed the railing, wearing the suit himself, and jumped. The suit did absolutely nothing. He plummeted straight down and was killed instantly, on film, in front of the entire stunned crowd. He died, proving his invention did not work. A grim reminder that you should probably never be the test dummy for your own idea. Reichelt chased a dream, and it killed him. Our next victim chased the ultimate dream, living forever, and that obsession is exactly what killed him. Qin Shi Huang was the first emperor to unite China. Incredibly powerful, he commanded armies, built great walls, and feared only one thing: death. Terrified of dying, he ordered his alchemists to brew him a potion of immortality, a magic elixir that would let him rule forever. Their recipe contained mercury, a shiny liquid metal they believed held mystical life-giving powers. In reality, mercury is extremely, horribly toxic to humans. The emperor drank these mercury potions regularly, convinced they were keeping him young. Instead, they were slowly poisoning him with every single dose. The mercury reportedly drove him mad and destroyed his body. The man, so desperate to live forever, poisoned himself to death chasing it. There is a final twist. He was buried in a vast tomb said to contain rivers of mercury, surrounded by the very thing that killed him. From a deadly potion to a deadly party. Our next ruler survived countless battles, only to be killed by his own wedding night. Attila the Hun was one of the most feared men in history. He led brutal hordes across Europe and made entire empires tremble. He survived endless wars, betrayals, and assassination attempts. Nothing on the battlefield could touch him. Then, late in life, he took a new young bride. He threw an enormous wedding feast and drank a truly heroic amount of wine to celebrate, partying late into the night with his guests. He went to bed extremely drunk. According to the records, he suffered a severe nosebleed in his sleep and, too intoxicated to wake, choked on his own blood. The scourge of Europe, the man who terrified the ancient world, was killed by a nosebleed on his own wedding night, undone by his own party. Our last great fool died doing his job, in possibly the most ironic way on this entire list. He was a famous musician. Jean-Baptiste Lully was a superstar composer in the court of the French king. He basically invented a brand new style of conducting orchestras. Back then, conductors kept the beat by pounding a tall, heavy staff against the floor, hard, again and again, to mark the rhythm. During an energetic performance, Lully got carried away with the beat and slammed the heavy staff directly down onto his own foot. The wound became infected and turned to gangrene. Doctors urged him to amputate the toe to save his life. Lully flatly refused. He refused because he wanted to keep dancing. So the infection spread up his leg and through his body, and it slowly killed him. A legendary conductor killed by his own conducting. He literally beat himself to death, keeping time, one stubborn refusal at a time. So what do all these powerful people have in common? They survived the dangers that should have killed them and then got beaten by nonsense. Armies, plots, and poison failed. But a roof tile, a tortoise, a nosebleed, and a bowl of buns? Those finished the job just fine. It turns out that being rich, brilliant, or feared protects you from almost nothing. The universe has a truly excellent sense of humor. And remember, poor Tycho Brahe, the genius astronomer who mapped the heavens, but could not bring himself to leave a dinner table and go pee. He understood the motion of the planets, but not the limits of his own bladder. Of all the dumb deaths, that one might take the crown. These powerful people suffered absurdly so you could sit comfortably and feel a little smarter. History really was ridiculous and weirdly comforting. The next time you feel like a failure, just remember that a king once ate himself to death and an emperor drank poison on purpose. So you are doing great, honestly. You have already cleared the very low bar of not being killed by your own souvenir or a falling tortoise. If this made you feel better about your own life, hit subscribe so more powerful stick figures can humiliate themselves for your education. And tell us below, which of these deaths is the absolute dumbest? Be honest, we all secretly think it is the guy who jumped off a tower.